to us. In New Jersey, Virginia, and New York City, Democrats swept all three. There's two key lessons for Republicans. Listen carefully. Number one, our side needs to focus on affordability. Make the American dream affordable. Bring down costs, electric costs, grocery costs, healthcare costs, and housing costs, and lay out how we're going to do it.
This as a new poll finds about 70% of Americans say groceries are more expensive now than they were a year.
Who is the 29%? What? Oh my god. It is actually like about 30% of people that just close their eyes. They've got Trump's dick as a fucking AirPod, and that's it. That's their perception of the world.
A year ago. And about 60% of them are blaming President Trump. According to our Fox News voter polling, the economy and cost of living were the biggest issues for voters in New York City's mayoral race and New Jersey and Virginia's governor's races. And in all of those races, the Democrat or Democratic Socialist won. This morning, Trump pointed to the shutdown as a possible strike against Republican candidates. Watch.
Last night, it was not expected to be a victory. It was very Democrat areas, but I don't think it was good for Republicans. Also about the shutdown and how that relates to last night. I think if you read the pollsters, the shutdown was a big factor, negative for the Republicans. And that was a big factor. And they say that I wasn't on the ballot was the biggest factor. But I don't know about that, but I was honored that they said that.
All right, Brian Kilmeade, what's your analysis?
Wow,
Oh, God.
I mean, we represent the morning shows today, so we've been doing this for a while. A couple of things. Republicans did not have a good day. So anyone who says, well, not really that, but no, it was bad. Jack Ciattarelli, I thought, was a really strong candidate. I thought his message was clear and crisp. I was surprised he lost at all, let alone by double digits. But you live in New Jersey, I live in Long Island, where there's a sliver of Nassau County, as you know, did very well. And Bruce Blakeman is the Nassau County executive, might even run for governor, at least Stefanik too. And I think the governor's race next year becomes really intriguing in New York. And I think a lot of people left Manhattan, left you, Rosanna, and they went out to Long Island to get away. A lot of people went down to Florida. And I thought it was interesting stat last night that Ron DeSantis said, when I took office, there were 300,000 more Democrats than Republicans. Now we have 1 million more Republicans. So America is voting with their feet. And I think in a way it's a little scary because we're really separating as a country, not in a straight line like the Civil War, but we're in boxes. Okay, I'm out of this state.
That's the problem, is the lines that we're separating on. Okay.
They tried to do is nationalize in New Jersey, and they tried to nationalize in Virginia, and they were effective. They ran against Trump. Trump wouldn't have won and has not won in either one of those states. And the candidates were unable to overcome it. In the case of Lieutenant Governor Winsome Sears, great biography, not a strong candidate. So I don't think she was going to win. The biggest shocker, the second biggest shocker to me is the Attorney General's story. And for Jay Jones to win, I'm stunned by that. I'm stunned that the people of Virginia don't have higher standards.
All right, Rosanna, I want to go to you now.
So on the was Jane Jones win, I think that's a really big indictment of Trump because those tags were disqualifying enough for me to be like, yeah, I'm good if we lose this one. But, I mean, that wasn't even that close. Like, I think it's a pretty serious indictment of Trump, and people are willing to look past stuff like that. Damn.
I'll respond to everything, but also let's play a Mamdani clip, because I want to get your thoughts on Mamdani in that particular race. Guys, roll.
I think the lesson for the president is that it's not enough to diagnose the crisis in working class Americans' lives. You have to deliver on addressing that crisis. This is a president who ran a campaign on the promise of cheaper groceries, and now, as was said by one of our co-chairs, has gone...
Yeah, just really quick. Like, that's 52.7% to 46.9%. That's a pretty sizable margin. I'm very surprised. There we go. Oh my God.
Gone so far as to cut SNAP benefits for close to 2 million New Yorkers. Someone who is literally making it harder to afford those same groceries whose price he was decrying not that long ago. And what scares Republicans across the country is the fact that we will actually deliver on this agenda. And the contrast is something that they cannot bear to witness.
You interviewed him, first of all.
I've interviewed him a bunch of times on Good Day New York. Listen, he's very charismatic. He knows the buzzwords. Sometimes his words can be into word salad, but he knows how to get everybody's attention. And I'm not so sure.
It's just the lack of self-reflection. Can we think of another person that might fit this description?
Sure, picking on the president on the first day that you've won the election is the smartest thing that you could possibly do. And yes, affordability is a problem in New York City for everyone. And you know what we're seeing? People are leaving, and it's because of taxes. Now Mr. Mamdani has run on tax the rich. They're the ones paying for everything. If they start moving, and they are. And you know how we know? Because we're getting a snapshot from the Department of Education. We now learned that at one point we had 1.1 million kids in New York City public schools. We're down to about 800,000.
Wow, so I'm going to dip, or maybe I'm just going to
We've seen that many people move their families out of New York City for a number of reasons. Taxes, not happy with the way the public school system is going, dumbing down the curriculum to basically make sure that the lowest in the class is the focus rather than the one who's the smartest and making everybody rise. Listen, I'm an intrepid New Yorker. I've been singing to myself all day, we will survive, okay? Because we want New York to survive. Do I think Mr. Mamdani can do everything he says he wants to do? I don't know. We had Mayor Adams on our show.
This could be played in like
he talked
2008.
about the rent board.
He gets
the
same
6 choices to stay on the rent board before he leaves office at the end of December. Those people will decide whether they're going to freeze the rent, which has also been one of the campaign slogans for Mr. Mamdani. So what I'm saying is Mr. Mamdani may not do everything that he says or promises, but like I said, we're intrepid New Yorkers. We'll get through this, and we're hoping for the best for New York City.
Yeah, I woke up feeling so
Jessica
sad today,
Tarlov.
but
I
also
think she
just
had,
praying a lot, knowing that God is in control and everything is going to be okay. But Kaylee, I want to get your thoughts on everything, but also this in particular. So we know that Mamdani won by a little over 1 million votes, 1,036,000, and the combination of Sliwa and Cuomo added basically about another 1 million. But the population in New York City is over 8 million. So is part of the issue for Republicans voter turnout? And is part of the issue that you're shaking your head no?
Because they had the highest turnout since 1960.
Yeah.
But
Oh no. Fact check live. The infighting begins.
But you guys, that's still the majority of people didn't vote.
This is one of the bluest places in the country. I mean, that's a fact.
Yeah.
The last time there was a Republican mayor that won was Mike Bloomberg. You're going back to the early 2000s.
That's my point. That it's, I'm not saying.
And normally,
ruined it, frankly, but I want to. Why not for Cuomo then? I think the reality is I want to hear what you have to say, actually.
Normally a Democrat gets upper 60, 70%, and you had Mamdani nowhere near that. This is a deep blue jurisdiction. Democrats were divided.
Yeah, what was the other one? It was still a Democrat. Like, Republicans got 7% of the vote.
On this, Republicans just aren't going to win the city. It's deeply blue. It's getting bluer. People are leaving the city. There's been a decrease 2% of millionaires in the city. There's been a decrease of 10% those making $10 million or more. Those are the people he's going to need the money from. But wait, they're out. We already have in this city the #1 welfare and education spending of anywhere in the country. Very few results to show for it. But I like what The Economist said. They said the goal of affordability from Mamdani is worthy, but not his methods. His methods, as I just laid out, do not work. But Donald Trump's methods do work on this issue. Donald Trump gave Joe Biden, this is...
Okay. Oh my God. Mamdani's going to tax people. What do you think a tariff is? Just definitionally, it creates deadweight loss and a tax on the consumer. It eats in entirely to consumer surplus. Like, it's... I don't think Mamdani's methods are going to be that effective. That being said, Trump's are demonstrably not effective. We can see it. We can look at information. We know the CPI. Like, just nuts.
Is a fact, 1.4% inflation. You had Joe Biden that drove that up to 9.1%. Hand you 1.4,
Forgetting COVID
9.1.
ever existed.
Donald Trump is successful 9 months in at bringing down prices. A dozen eggs, the price has dropped 79%. National average of gasoline dropped $3 per gallon in the first week of November. He beat market expectations in September with the inflation rate at 2.5%.
It's what the fuck? That's all I had to click. All right, whatever.
Now, Ohio
Thus ends this part of the Fox News shit. Such bull. Oh my god. Is this happening yet? No. No. Keep an ear out for that. There's this Trump speech at a business forum. I just want to know if Tarlov is ever on. I thought I saw something on it. Whatever. This will be a good segment. The Fox News meltdown over Mamdani and other Dems. Oh, it's sweet. It is so sweet.
He is next mayor. Now, he will become the first Muslim mayor of the city and its youngest in more than a century. Not really a surprise. I don't know why people were waking up in the last, 2.5 weeks. I think they should have woke up after the primary where he
almost got it. You almost got it. When just so I don't say something stupid here, did Mamdani win the primary? June 24th, 2025. It was still an indictment. Mamdani winning the primary was an indictment on Trump. It's like, okay, it was a reaction in the other direction. They all have to talk about the fucking pendulum. That was the pendulum swinging.
handily defeated Andrew Cuomo. But back to your analysis, because I think this is very key. I thought that Andrew ran a very lackluster campaign. I think taking 10 days off after Labor Day is unthinkable if you're a candidate. I think he spent way too much time out in the Hamptons, and he didn't have a message that resonated, and he still had a hangover of hatred for the time he was governor. That all worked against him.
I think there'll also be this debate if he had another week or 2 weeks, would that have been enough to close the gap? And I'm not sure, based on the numbers we're seeing right now. Cuomo got his act together in the last couple of weeks. He was doing a lot more interviews. He was out there. And, Sean, I will tell you, there's a reason why politicians spend a year in Iowa. They go out there to refine their message, to be able to answer every question on every topic possible and do it within 30 seconds' time. Cuomo was out of political talking shape, period. Now, he got his sea legs under him in the last couple of weeks and showed up on Fox many times, showed up on MSNBC and CNN, made himself much more available. But there'll be pieces written as to whether or not this was the right way to run a campaign. And if you had another week or 2 weeks' time, could you have closed the gap on Mamdani tonight? And that's a question we'll...
I highly doubt that.
Never know, Sean, but it'll certainly be talked about and written about.
Bill Hemmer, amazing coverage. We'll get back to you at the big board coming up. We are ready. Projection time. The Fox News decision desk can now project that Congresswoman Mikey Sherrill will, in fact, become the next Democratic governor of New Jersey. Now, Sherrill defeats Republican Jack Ciattarelli, whom President Trump endorsed in May. The GOP had hoped that Ciattarelli could deliver an upset after a very close loss 4 years ago. We're going to bring back Brett and Martha to get reaction to this. Brett, I'll go back to the numbers that I threw at Martha earlier. Nearly 1 million voter advantage, Democrat over Republican in that state. Nearly a 250,000 people in New Jersey left that state. That, that to me is a math problem for Republicans if they ever want to flip a state like New Jersey.
Always. And in a state like New Jersey, as Martha talked about, it is like Lucy and the football and Charlie Brown. I mean, there is this thought that maybe this is the time, and it changes the dynamic. And I will say there was a lot of optimism heading in for Jack Ciattarelli. But Mikey Sherrill had an advantage.
Are you telling me... Now, this is an interesting point, because they're talking a lot about how Republicans moving away from places has caused a greater Democratic hold, which, necessarily so. Why are people moving? Is it potentially part of this disparate information environment where if you lie, all your news is lying, and your underlying basis of facts is just not in tune with reality, all of a sudden you feel like an alien wherever you are because you just don't live in the same world as other people, so you have to go not only online live in your information bubble or in cable, but also physically, because you have nothing to talk about with people around you. You guys are becoming less and less peers, which is just scary for everybody involved. I think it's just another symptom of how disparate our information environments have become.
Advantage. She didn't perform well in the early debates. She was asked about sales tax and taxes overall. She said, I'm not going to answer that right now in a debate. And it became a big thing. Then there was the controversy over the cheating scandal at Annapolis. And it really stalled the campaign for a couple of weeks. In the final days, President Obama came in, she got a lot of support, and she started seeing early vote numbers tick up, according to her campaign. And, you know, it's enough in that environment to pull out a blue state.
Yeah, you look at the urban centers in New Jersey, and she really ran up the vote. Essex County as well, places like Montclair, suburban areas outside of New York. She did very well with women voters. We saw the same thing with Spanberger in Virginia.
Mamdani killed it with women voters.
Presented themselves
They get like
as
90%.
moderate women with military and CIA background. And so I think you're going to have Democrats looking at that model as something that is successful for them, Sean. And I would imagine that you're going to see them seek out candidates that reflect that. It's just very interesting to me when you look at President Trump's numbers in 2024 in New Jersey. Just 9 months ago, he was able to turn 5 counties in New Jersey solidly red. And those counties did not follow that pattern with Jack Ciattarelli. And it just raises a lot of questions about whether or not anybody but President Trump can move the ball in these kinds of places. Ciattarelli ran a very Trump-like campaign. He embraced him in the state of New Jersey. I think one of the questions that is going to continue to crop up
on this
are questions about
or 4
the
of a
economy.
kind here.
President Trump is very popular across the country in most
Sorry, you said
state of New Jersey. I think one of the questions that is going to continue to crop up are questions about the economy. President Trump is very popular across the country in most of the approval numbers, but these questions about the economy.
What? According to who? On the economy, especially, his approval numbers are awful. Trump approval rating by issue. Sorry, that is so just not the case. Like, it's Fox News, I get it, but it still astounds me at how blatantly they could lie. Like, the do not believe your eyes. His approval rate is 42%. Okay, then immigration, it's still underwater. The economy is down by 17%, 17.6. There's nothing. Even his main campaign promises on immigration, he doesn't have positive approval rating. What polls are they citing? Here's a law that must be passed. When you cite a stat on national TV, you have to source it. Something like that. We can't have people. It's 30% of the country. It's 30% of the country that are diehard, that actually believe this shit.
Economy continue to be raised, and I think
it's not even that you have to tell the truth. You could cite a bad source, but we just have to know the fucking source.
That when you look at Hispanic areas and black
yes, exactly.
parts of New Jersey as well, where he did not do the kind of numbers that we've seen from President Trump, it'll show areas where Republicans will need to do some work in the coming months before the midterm.
Yeah, affordability is the mantra, Sean. I mean, it's the mantra for Zohran Mamdani here in New York City.
You know, a couple of things to point out. Both of you made great observations. One, Trump is not on the ballot tonight.
That's another big lie source on them making great observations. Okay, now I'm being a little. But it's Fox, so whatever.
The Chitterelli campaign
I'm doing my
determined
civic
that
duty.
bringing Donald Trump into New Jersey, probably not a good idea, being a deep blue state that it is. Let me run through some numbers.
No
I
more
know,
Nancy
Martha,
Pelosi,
you know
true.
these numbers very well. The tax foundation,
They already do.
the people in New Jersey, those residents have the second highest overall tax burden in the entire country. They're 49th out of 50. That means the highest.
What I think this is also showing is people are willing to pay higher taxes if it goes to programs that help affordability. The Republican line of taxes are necessarily bad is getting very tired, and people are just not accepting that as gospel anymore.
Property taxes in the country. That means New Jersey has the 4th highest income tax in the country. They also have the highest corporate tax.
And if they don't live in a terrible place,
it went up again this
exactly.
year. 45 cents a gallon gas tax, again, among the highest in the country. State sales tax, among the highest in the country. You know.
And you know where people are still living? Fucking New Jersey. It's like, sorry. People want to live where the things are, and the things are in blue cities.
New Jersey has the highest inheritance
Why do I have
tax
4 notifications?
of 16%. Florida has 0 inheritance
comments,
tax,
right? Yeah,
much lower property taxes, no income taxes, and better, you know, weather on top of everything, but, you know, better infrastructure.
You know what's funny is as people move to these like places in like Florida and Texas, they're gonna become more blue, and Fox News is gonna be sitting there digging in their butt trying to come up with a fucking answer to that. It's just in economic zones, you tend to vote blue.
Structure on top of everything else. So, you know, it really says a lot to me. What does it say to you, Martha? I know you love New Jersey.
Totally depressing me about all of the taxes that we have to pay New Jersey. No, it's a terrible
I'm not trying to do that, but those numbers are insane.
No, I mean, I don't know, you guys, but you know, it raises a question about why the argument that Chitterelli has been making that you want to lower taxes is not compelling enough for all of these New Jersey.
Yeah, that is something you have to contend with, Fox News.
Voters. I mean, it's a very obvious question. And then you have Zohran Mamdani, who is saying, well, we're just going to raise the corporate tax rate to match New Jersey. You know, so don't worry about it because it's only going to be like New Jersey, which, as you point out, is the highest corporate tax rate in the country. But I don't know. I'm going to just be scrolling through the real estate pages here now, Sean, looking for a new place.
I think we can find you.
I don't know if I'll read that message out loud, but that's really funny.
Place to do your show. I know a place. It's available, and you're welcome to use it. You'll do a great job wherever you are. Guys, stay right there. We're going to get back to you. Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox
I will
News
not be
YouTube
doing that,
page
Sean.
and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.
That's for sure.
We can now make a call. The Fox News decision desk can now project that Democrat
Now,
Jay Jones.
This guy, given the text, does not have my endorsement. I think it's a sign of how hard people hate Trump, but I don't think this is a good face for those texts are.
Will become
It should have been
Virginia's
disqualifying.
next Attorney General, defeating the Republican incumbent, Jason Miyares. Now, October, you may recall, Jones apologized for text messages that he had sent where he imagined putting 2 bullets to the head of the Speaker of the House of Commons and then wishing the death of that lawmaker's children and urinating on the grave. And it was even worse than that in this sense.
Yeah.
There was no Democrat in Virginia, really, Brett and Martha, to bring you back. Martha, we'll go to you first, that was willing to condemn these remarks and distance.
I don't know. I would be astonished if that's true, given that he himself was like, yeah, that was fucked up. I made a personal apology.
Themselves and suggest that he get out of that race.
I don't know what to
found,
look up
you know,
to
an
like
assassination
get a
culture that
concise
we're living
answer
in,
to that.
you know,
If
how
someone
does
has a
somebody get
search
away with
term, that might
Very
work. Let me
scary.
know.
You know, the bar has obviously been lowered to a point that we never would have anticipated. I mean, think about the fact that Joe Biden once dropped out of a presidential race because there was an accusation that he had plagiarized a section of a speech, okay? And that derailed a presidential race back in the late 80s. So this is where...
I'm sorry. I'm not taking this from the, sometimes people just say grab him by the pussy crowd. Okay? No. Not taking it. Okay. I get that the standards are low, but that's not... Without some self-reflection, I'm not taking it from these folks. No chance.
Where we are now, you can threaten to kill people, to kill their children, to call them fascists, to say you want to see them die in their parents' arms. And this is allowed. This is acceptable. This is
not
even
defending
something
those
that
statements.
forces the candidate to be so embarrassed and feel so terrible that they, you know, get up to that podium and say, you know what, I got to step aside. Obviously, that was a huge misjudgment on my part.
And then Abigail Spanberger is asked about it 4 times in a debate and says, and doesn't say she's pulling back the endorsement. She's asked about it for several days on the campaign trail. It does sputter her campaign. She pulls out a win, but never really denounces or pulls back the endorsement of Jones. And here you have it. Now, you know, Democrats in Virginia are going to deal with that as well.
Top law enforcement official in the state.
I'm looking, Brett, at these numbers. I want your take on it. Winsome Sears lost. The bottom dropped out of her campaign. Now, that was picked up by my friends Robert Cahaly and Matt Towery. Their last poll had her down by double digits. As you can see, if we can put up that number again in terms of Attorney General, it is a much tighter race. And obviously, Winsome Sears became a drag for Jason Miyares. Rather shocking in this case that Jones won this race to me, Brett. He did outperform
I mean,
Winsome
listen,
Sears.
he apologized. He came out and did an on-camera apology. He continued to campaign, saying it was, you know, he was joking and moved on. But he was asked about it every stop. Every interview he did. Abigail Spanberger was asked.
Yeah, and what that shows is it wasn't enough. It wasn't, that mark against him didn't outweigh the indictment of Trump. So, I mean, take from that what you will. Yeah.
A lot of interviews, and yet here you have it. I think it does show, to your point earlier, that Virginia is trending more blue than purplish right now. And does that have to do with the government shutdown? Does that have to do with all the government workers in Fairfax County? Does it have to do with a shift that we're seeing there? I don't know. Yeah. But President Trump's not on the ballot, and President Trump made Virginia very tight in 2024.
You know, one of my criticisms after 24, the Democrats, there was no introspection. There was no...
Okay. I don't know how long anyone here has been a Democrat, but that introspection line, we introspected, and then we moved on, and now we're winning.
Self-reflection. There was no course correction, as I say.
And this is also just a total lie. There was a lot
tonight,
of self-reflection and course correction.
Three
Holy
very blue
shit.
states.
Even still, we're trying to tear each other's throats out, talking about how, well, this is not the right way for a Democrat to, this is the, and then, like, you look at the Republicans, they're like, I'm passing the shove a stick up my ass law of 1942. And people are like, yeah, whatever. So anyways, the Democrats, it's like, don't.
And I think
not taking this from you, Sean
that pops
Hannity.
off the page to me, Martha, is the economy. And I know the president has been doing any and everything, a very heavy lift on foreign policy. He laid the foundation for his economic success. He has his plan in place, but it does. There is a lag period between putting that in place and actually seeing the growth that you want and are predicting that I believe will occur. I would like to see more talk about the economy moving forward from Republicans.
you can't continually lie about the economy. They don't believe you. Your own poll that you just put up showed you that the people don't believe you.
Get out of the.
I was hoping to get Lucky Cat here.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. And, you know, this idea of affordability, which just basically means inflation, that prices are too high, and that's a real...
Not just inflation. It also pertains to... Oh, actually, we could do hack. It also pertains a lot to housing, where there's supply shortages. You need to let people build, which is supposed to be y'all's platform. But that's not happening.
Sensitivity spot for people is, I think, something that Republicans do have to look carefully at. It's obvious that they're very aware of it. I saw James Blair today on with Larry Kudlow talking about how he believes that what they're seeing in the future indicator economic numbers are very positive. Scott Bessent has implied the same thing. So,
how much stock are you going to put in that? That's
obviously, before you get to the midterms, Republicans are going to want to work on making sure that that is tangible, that, you know, that people feel that increase. And I think, you know, if the economy is stupid, it ends up being the simple story of a lot of elections. And I think that's clearly one of the lines here.
You know, Brett, to add a little context to that, we have trillions in committed monies that the president has secured for
show me a signed deal.
Manufacturing, and add to that bonus depreciation, which would incentivize companies to build faster. That would include automobiles, pharmaceuticals. That would include rare earth.
For those bonus depreciations, where you could depreciate an asset immediately instead of spending it or like going all the way through its depreciation period. It makes the cash flows a little bit easier, or the discounted cash flows a little bit more attractive.
And also semiconductor chips and things like that. Also the largest tax cut in history. Reagan did it. We had 21 million new jobs created, massive economic growth, the longest period of peacetime economic growth in history to that point. And then you add the energy component, which I don't think you can fully calculate. So there are building blocks in place.
We did. All right,
I believe, for great economic growth. How soon will we see it?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. I think, you know, the projection by Bessent and others is you get to first quarter 26 and you start to feel it. But there is this disparity. Big companies are doing great. If you look at Wall Street, they had some great runs there over the past few weeks, and the highest ever. But the disparity of feeling it in the lower section, in the folks who, you know, don't have a lot in the stock market.
Negative photograph, and I can't afford it.
There is, you know, a push and pull of affordability and paying for things that has not equaled out. The tariff thing.
What? No, my economics are not trickling down. No.
Thing is a big part of the president's policies, which is why this hearing at the Supreme Court tomorrow, the beginning of this emergency decision that they're going to make on tariffs, is going to be really crucial.
All right, now, just for our audience knowledge, you guys will be taking over at 10 p.m. Eastern. That's 8 minutes from right now. Brett and Martha, we have yet to hear from any of the candidates on either side. I'm sure you'll be carrying those speeches tonight. I want to thank both of you for joining us tonight, and we'll be watching your coverage all throughout the night. Here with reaction to all of tonight's results, pollsters Matt Towery, Robert Cahaly. Well, I got to tip my hat to you. Both of you in your last poll showed the bottom dropped out for Winsome Sears. I believe it had a major impact on the AG race there. Matt Towery, what happened?
Who's this guy?
Well, it's bigger than that. I'm going to go very quickly because I know that we don't have much time. Shutdown, shutdown, shutdown. That had a big effect on this election. We saw many Republicans start to go down as the weeks continued to go with the shutdown. Tomorrow, the legacy media is going to say it's Donald Trump. It's all his trouble. It's not. It was a shutdown. Number two.
Who owns the shutdown?
Republicans have to figure out how to get the vote out. I agree with Kellyanne. In Georgia today, you had two statewide elected officials, Republicans defeated at a massive level. No one's looking at it, but the GOP has to figure out how to turn out races without Donald Trump on the ballot.
I think that's well said. Robert, let's get your take. Would you ever imagine Zoran?
Am I unhinged for thinking, like, obviously Trump was on the ballot. The Republicans that would have may have been elected that was representative of Trump.
Nani winning with his radical positions in New York City?
A simple answer to that is yes. It's New York City. But I agree with Matt.
That's true.
Shutdown is everything. I mean, you know, when you have a country
well, Robert, let me
with
stop
so
you. Are
many
you talking
people-
about when you say shutdown, are you specifically really referring to Virginia, considering in Northern Virginia so many people were impacted by this government shutdown? And why didn't they blame Schumer? Because I would argue he shut it down.
Well, absolutely. But here's the thing. You've got so many people.
This
who
guy looks
depend-
like he's from a cartoon. This isn't a real guy. This is not a real guy. This is a caricature of a guy.
depend on the government for either aid or a paycheck. And when that is stopped, they're going to blame the party in power. And when Republicans have the House, the Senate, and the President, they don't understand all the details of filibuster. I mean, they understand the Republicans are in control, and that check's in jeopardy. And so when that check is in jeopardy, when that aid is in jeopardy, whether it's actually in jeopardy or they just perceive it's in jeopardy, they're going to vote their pocketbook, even if they ideologically feel a different way. That's what they were talking about earlier. Like Kellyanne said that all these numbers said they were going to vote one way based on how they felt about issues like crime, but they voted the other way. I think people are voting their pocketbooks, and Trump was right. The shutdown
good to
needed
be a
end,
Democrat, man.
and filibuster, whatever it took, nuclear option, it's got to stop.
These are pollsters, by the way, the people that are supposed to get you the information that you rely on. I don't know if they're supposed to be ideologues.
Oh, I hope for the sake of people, especially if they're going to lose SNAP benefits, I don't want to come on the air and have to beg people to go to their local
We don't want you to come on the air either, Sean. Don't worry.
food bank, and that may be next. Thank you both.
Fox News alert, it's 8 o'clock and polls have closed in New Jersey. The Fox News decision desk believes the governor's race in the Garden State is close. Democratic candidate Mikey Sherrill leads. The Fox News decision desk can also project that Democrat Abigail Spanberger will become the next governor of Virginia.
Oh.
Spanberger defeats Republican Lieutenant Governor Winsome Earl Sears. Let's bring in Fox News chief political anchor Brett Baer and the anchor of The Story, Martha McCallum. Were you surprised, Brett, that was called early?
No, you know, it's a purple state, but it's bluish purple. Winsome Earl Sears did close the gap heading into Election Day, but, you know, there was a Democratic push. She was a decent candidate to begin with. She had some stumbles because of the Attorney General's race, which, by the way, we haven't called yet, Jay Jones, although he is seeing increase in the polls, the numbers that we're seeing. But because of that, I think there was a stumble and a belief that Winsome Earl Sears could close the gap. Too little, too late. And Abigail Spanberger will become the first female governor of the Commonwealth. She was the person that Democrats said, listen, this is a moderate. She's going to be the example for Democrats going forward. Republicans said she wasn't a moderate. She voted with Nancy Pelosi almost all the time. And but she will become the next Virginia governor.
But this race for AG, where the guy says that he wanted to kill Republican kids, we can't call that yet. Are you surprised that we haven't been able to call that yet? I mean, most people that I know would say, heck no with a guy like that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a percentage of Virginia voters who said that they found those comments concerning, but not disqualifying. And we saw that Spanberger really tried to just sort of sidestep this whole issue. She was pressed upon to say that he should drop out of the race. I mean, it really, really lowers the bar for what is required. I mean, think about the fact that Joe Biden once dropped out of a presidential race because there was some plagiarism.
I would disagree. I think those texts probably should have disqualified him from the primary. Yes, relatively, yes, it's almost nothing. It is pretty bad. Like I'm an advocate against shooting ourselves in the foot, like holding ourselves to too high of a standard. I think that falls below the standard we should hold ourselves to, regardless. I know. I'm not like I'm a fan of fighting dirty. I think those texts are over the new line. It just that those are too rough for a fellow like me.
In a speech that he gave. But this guy says that, you know, he should this family should be killed, and that the children are found.
For Republicans, it doesn't. For Democrats, it should. We should lower it, and I think it has been lowered. But we should never go as low as Republicans. I agree with you largely. I'm just saying. I'm saying if the Democrats' bar has traditionally been here, Republicans' bar has been here, we could lower the Democrats' bar to here. All right. I think those texts were too much.
And they should be killed too. But the bar for all these things has changed
and the guy
dramatically.
with the Nazi tattoo hasn't dropped out. The bar is so low now. You can basically do anything and stay in.
Like Graham Plattner, I can give it or take it. If he wins the primary, then he wins the primary. I think someone else should win the primary, but that's not enough for me to be like, this guy's got to get whatever they're saying.
In the race,
she was asked about 4 times in that debate, will you pull your endorsement? She didn't. And it was the easiest, one would think, layup to, in a political race, say, yes, I pull my endorsement. It's time to move on. But she was, it was like an albatross around her neck for the rest of that race, and that's why it was so close in the end. She is going to pull this out in a decent majority.
So was it a close one or not?
Margin, rather. And Democrats are going to feel good about this. I think they have less to feel good about in New Jersey, which looks like it's tightening.
All right, so it's tight in New Jersey. This is a state that
Harris,
I think, beat Donald Trump by about 6 points. He didn't spend any money there. And this guy, Chiarelli, had done well last time against the incumbent, Bill Murphy. It's too close to call. What does that tell you?
Well, this is the 3rd time that Jack Ciattarelli has run for governor. The first time he didn't make it through the primary. The second time, as you pointed out, he came within 3 points of Phil Murphy. Nobody has held the same party governorship in New Jersey since 1961, which would indicate, the historical trend is that it's time for it to flip to the GOP this time around. We've certainly had a number of Republican governors in New Jersey, but this is very
so
close.
much cope today.
And Cheryl, also weathered a bit of a storm when it came to the cheating scandal at Annapolis. Ciattarelli really tried to hang that on her in a negative light. Whether or not it stuck, we don't know.
And the insider trading allegations, too.
Absolutely, yeah.
Wasn't very graceful in wiggling out of those. What are your people in New Jersey telling us, Martha?
Our people in New Jersey. I do sort of, I go running around town. I see where the signs are. It is interesting in areas that are, sort of working class neighborhoods in New Jersey. You have seen a lot of Ciattarelli signs. It has felt that he had the momentum, but whether or not, the New Jersey machine will prevail tonight, that's what we're about to find out.
And we had Barack Obama had to fly in all the way from Hawaii to save both of these women.
That's right. He went to Virginia and to New Jersey. He did.
They would have won with or without. It's
not go to New York City.
But he did make a phone call.
He did make a phone call. Said he was really, touching on important issues, but didn't do an official endorsement. I think obviously the big race that has sucked up all the oxygen is the mayor's race here in New York City, and that could maybe have an effect in New Jersey because people in New Jersey look at New York City and say what happens there could mean something for us.
Do you really think that if Mondami wins, that it could have repercussions?
He's smug.
In New Jersey, Martha, you know New Jersey better than any of us here at this table.
It's true.
Well, we both live there, but you and I both live there.
I was born there. I just want to say.
Okay, good.
He's also
Jersey
roots as well. It's interesting to see if you get a counterbalance vote. If people in New Jersey sort of turn out to try to balance Mamdani in the mayor's race. I also think that the other person who's watching this very closely is Elise Stefanik, because I think if Mamdani wins in New York, she may feel, Hochul wants to be governor, to stay governor there, but Mamdani didn't even endorse Hochul.
Right.
She endorsed him, and he won't endorse her because she refuses to raise taxes in this state, which is going to be a problem for
So
him.
we're not giving Mondani the win, but if he does win, Brett, what kind of damage, if he teams up with Kathy Hochul, could those two do in the state of New York?
So interestingly, the New York City mayor doesn't have as much power as the New York governor.
Right.
So she would almost be a check if she wanted to be to the New York City mayor.
Does she want to be?
You know, when she was on that stage, it didn't look like it when she was holding up his hand, but she has said to other people and reporters that that's what she would do. It's not good enough. If he does win, and we don't know, I mean, who knows? Those polls close at 9 p.m. We'll see. It's the biggest turnout we've seen in 2 decades in New York City for a mayor's race. So, you know, that could mean good things for Cuomo. But if he wins, Hochul will be in a much weakened position against the Republican nominee. Like
the
Are you
retrospective
thinking
watch of this.
people in New York City are calculating this? Well, I don't like Cuomo, but I might have to vote for him to stop Mondani. How much of that calculation is happening?
Well, I think one of the biggest questions is that percentage of SLEWA voters, because Trump came out and said, look, you know, I don't.
Even if you add the Sliwa and the Cuomos, Mamdani still wins.
Really like either of these main candidates, but if you should go for the worst Democrat rather than the communist, is what the president said. So those SLEWA voters had to make a decision today when they went to the polls and figure out if they wanted to pull the lever for SLEWA or if they were going to go over and do what the president asked them to do and vote for Cuomo. So watch the SLEWA margins. Staten Island is obviously a big the only big conservative stronghold in New York City. If his margins are lower there than they were last time around, that's something to keep an eye on.
Does the pseudo endorsement by Donald Trump of Andrew Cuomo help Andrew Cuomo in a city like New York where they just tried to throw this president in prison? You know, this guy's like, oh, this is your guy. And then Mondani says, well, look, Donald Trump's endorsing my opponent.
Yeah, it did give Mondani a talking point ahead of Election Day. But it also may move some SLEWA voters off to vote for Cuomo. So the balance there is interesting to factor in. I think it was late. You know, it might have been earlier. Cuomo had to absorb a day of, look, he's Donald Trump's endorsed candidate. But at the same time, it probably moves some SLEWA voters.
All right, we'll see how it shakes out pretty soon. The Fox News decision desk can now project the Democratic state senator, Ghazala Hashmi, will serve as Virginia's next lieutenant governor. Hashmi will be the first ever Muslim woman elected to statewide office. She defeats Republican John Reed.
Here with more on all the news that's been breaking. Fox News contributors Ari Fleischer, Kellyanne Conway. All right,
my
Kellyanne,
God.
let's get your take on this. No surprise, really, to me anywhere. I'm not really surprised. I had hopes for New Jersey. It was a hope. There was a shot. There was a chance. But the math was the math. And I knew that going in. 250,000 people left in 3 years. Nearly 1 million vote advantage for Democrats, registered over Republicans. So I was realistic as well.
No doubt. This is what happened when Democrats turn out to vote in largely Democratic blue states, and that's what happened. The one curious thing, though, Sean and Ari, is that the voters...
This is your reminder to get out and vote, because if we lose again, they get to be the smug ones. It is so much more fun to be the smug one.
Told pollsters they want lower taxes, fewer regulations, less crime, less chaos with respect to migration. They want to make sure that the police are respected and that their values are reflected. And then they went and voted against all of that today in the form of these governors. Look, Jack Ciattarelli, we were all very hopeful, but guess what? The Fox News voter analysis suggests that he failed to win young men and to replicate what President Trump did one short year ago with Hispanics, with union households,
a short
with
year?
independents.
Okay,
so to the extent that tonight is a referendum on President Trump at all, guess what? It means that he's one of one.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Can you cope any harder? Oh my God. I need to hear that again. That was
with Hispanics,
golden.
with union households, with independents. So to the extent that tonight is a referendum on President Trump at all, guess what? It means that he's one of one. You can get his endorsement, and this is a clarion call for 2026, folks. You can have President Trump's endorsement. It doesn't mean you're going to win. You have to do what he did.
It's so close to getting it. Oh my God.
You have to go and dip into these unfamiliar to Republican constituencies. You've got to be very specific and granular and show up every single moment. One quick point about Virginia. Spanberger's margin of victory is so large, Sean, that she brought over that Jay Jones character to be the chief law enforcement officer of Virginia. He barely won. He won by a far smaller margin than she did.
He won by like 6%. Hang on. We have that somewhere here. Yeah, we do. Right? No, oh my god. So, Spanberger. Results page, yeah. Okay. A 15-point spread. A 6-point spread. Like, this is not a small margin. Even though it's smaller than the other margins, it is still a massive margin.
She dragged him over, and now he should be a drag on her. Because, my goodness, we've got a socialist, anti-Semite, pro-Hamas guy as mayor of New York, and the chief law enforcement officer in Virginia.
Zoran is not anti-Semitic. He's not. I don't know if I'd say he's not. He's not going to endorse, like, actual. Actually, I don't feel too confident making strong. He's not anti-Semitic.
In the age of political assassination attempts and successful attempts, we have a man who has threatened the lives of other people. I think that's one of the biggest stories of the night to me, and I also think that Republicans got to do what they did in 2024 with President Trump, get that vote out early, swamp the vote. Look, for me, early voting is 7 a.m. on Election Day, but early vote is a real thing now, and we have to step it up and participate the same way the Democrats do.
Ari Fleischer, let's get your take on tonight.
She looks like a older Pam
Blue states are blue
Bondi.
states, and that's why the Democrats won tonight. But if you take a step back, Republicans in 2022 took the House of Representatives. There was no red wave, but they took the House. 2024, they took the White House. They took the Senate. I would rather be the Republicans in having done that than the Democrats in 2025 who kept some blue governor's mansions. Looking ahead to the future, the Democrats have a horrible problem now on their hands, and his name is Zoran Mandami. Mandami will be the middle name of every Democrat running in every race around the country. And the socialist win tonight is not over. There's a race in Minnesota right now where a socialist may beat the incumbent Democratic senator of Minneapolis. Keep your eye on that race. Socialism is a growing problem for the Democratic Party.
And it'll be put to the test in New York. 99-1 odds, not going to work well. And then the Democrats can go back to being liberal or moderate. It'll be wonderful.
More the Democrats embrace socialism with all the horrors that it entails, the crime that'll take place in New York City, the abandonment of New York City by the successful and the taxpayer. This is what's going to hurt the Democratic reputation and base going forward. It's hollowing out the Democratic Party. I would so much rather, even with tonight's bad results, be the Republicans in the big picture than the Democrats. There's also, I just want to add,
I don't know, it feels damn good to be a Democrat
It's a
today.
ballot initiative to see if voters in
Yes,
Maine want to
yes.
mandate driver's licenses in order to vote. That looks like it's going to pass.
Yes.
So outside of the
That would
bigger
be a
races
win.
here, pay attention to Minneapolis, pay attention to that ballot initiative in Maine, but it's a tough night for Republicans. But it sets up 26. Republicans are running against socialism.
I actually think I'd take that battle, that ideological battle, any day of the week, to be very honest, Ari. But Ari Fleischer, Kellyanne, great to see you both. Thank you both for joining us. Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe.
I will not be doing that, Sean Hannity. Thank you very much. Man, that was everything I needed it to be and more. Oh, it feels good.
Miami, after President Trump delivered an economic speech here to the America Business Forum. Mr. President, thanks for being here. I want to talk to you about New York City real quick. You're a New Yorker. You famously kind of had a fight with Ed Koch back in the 70s and 80s as he was a mayor. He obviously wasn't a democratic socialist, as you call the mayor-elect Zoran Mamdani a communist. But is there any part of you that looks at Mamdani and says, it is good for you politically to have a big foil there that you're going to talk about for the next 3 years?
You know, I'm so torn because I would like to see the new mayor do well because I love New York. I really love New York. When I left New York for Washington, New York was doing really well, but there were some bad signs. The bad sign was a guy named de Blasio. So the signs of de Blasio, that was the beginning, and it was bad. This one, we're going to look. For 1,000 years, communism has not worked. Communism or the concept of communism has not worked. I tend to doubt it's going to work this time.
Did you see his victory speech?
It's literally never worked. Yeah, I thought it was a very angry speech, certainly angry toward me, and I think he should be very nice to me. You know, I'm the one that sort of has to approve a lot.
Jesus. What is it? It's like the... I'm trying to think. It's like the kid with like a swimming pool or something. You got to be nice to... Or whatever. There's an analogy. It's escaping me.
A lot of things coming to him, so he's off to a bad start.
At one point he says, turn the volume up.
So hear me, President Trump, when I say this. To get to any of us, you will have to get through all of us.
How do you respond to that? Does that affect anything you're going to do?
It's a very dangerous statement for him to make, actually. And, you know, you talk about danger. I think it's a very dangerous statement for him to make.
Why?
He has to be a little bit respectful of Washington, because if he's not, he doesn't have a chance of succeeding. And I want to make him succeed.
You have to... I'm in Discord. What? What are you talking about? Turn the volume up. Oh.
See, I want to make the city succeed. I don't want to make him succeed. I want to make the city succeed.
True.
And we'll see what happens.
Did you see reaching out to him?
I would say he should reach out to us, really. I think he should reach out. I'm here. We'll see what happens. But I would think that it would be more appropriate for him to reach out to us.
So speaking of reaching
is that... I thought it was the person already in power that's meant to reach out to the person who just got into...
reaching out, is there a deal that can be made to end this government shutdown, in your mind?
Well, I think the Democrats have become radicalized. I think, you know, this never happened before. They always extend. You know, an extension is very easy. It's done all the time. You extend, sometimes you extend 4 or 5 times. I mean, they become radicalized lunatics, actually, in a true sense. They should automatically extend, and we will make a deal as soon as they do. As soon as they do, we'll make a deal.
There is a deal in the works that they're talking about, at least. Senator Susan Collins talked to the House, said if they pass the continuing resolution now, this Friday, they'll pass the military construction, the veterans bills, maybe even other bills, and that would get veterans their checks by Veterans Day Monday. Yeah. Would you support that?
I would look at it. I mean, I'm going to look at it. They should just extend it and work on it, and we ought to work on health care together, because Obamacare has been a disaster. It's going to get a big increase, but Obamacare is not great health care, and it's very expensive, and I'd love to work with them to fix it.
This is obviously appropriate.
Okay, then don't repeal it first.
Appropriations bills one at a time, but they lump some in, get a continuing
Sounds
resolution.
quite alive right now.
Move forward.
Let's move forward. I'd like to move forward. I'd like to get it going.
In this one, yeah.
It's really up.
Supposed to be giving an announcement. This was supposed to be at 11. But I don't know where the fuck he is. So, who knows? We're just kind of waiting on that one.
Up to them. And we're here. If they say yes, it's done. Because we have already, we have voted just about unanimously, almost unanimously, to move forward. We're ready to do it.
A few more things. You said Republicans should get rid of the filibuster. Yeah. Based on what you said this morning, you don't really think the Democrats could never win the Senate again, right?
No, I think that if we got rid of the filibuster, we would approve so many good things, common sense things, wonderful things, that it would be hard to beat us. If we don't, it's always going to be a slog. So I do say this. I would say absolutely, without question, I have no
It's
doubt in my mind.
supposed to be a slog. As much as people bitch about it, I think the American people kind of like that it's a slog. The give and take, I think, is pretty much viewed as a good thing. Right?
And get rid of it. And the Republicans should do it, but they have a number of Republicans that don't agree. And you know what? It's a question. Do I want to lose my relationship with those Republicans that have been very good to me for a long period of time, that voted against the crooked Democrats on impeachment and everything else? Do I want to lose them over it? I think it's a very important point. Do you ever have people that are wrong, but you can't convince them?
They don't?
So do you
What makes you
destroy
say
your
that?
whole relationship with them or not? I'd be close to losing it, but probably not.
How worried are you about this Supreme Court decision on your emergency power on tariffs? The hearing today, a lot of people were trying to read through the tea leaves, what the justices were asking. Some were saying they were overly skeptical. You can't really do that in Supreme Court hearings, but how worried are you that they may unwind this thing?
Well, I heard the court case went well today, but I just heard that a little while ago because, as you know, it was just 2 hours ago that they finished up. But I will say this, it would be devastating for our country if we lost that. Devastating. I think it's one of the most important, maybe the most, but one of the most important cases in the history of our country. I think taking tariffs away so that we can have national security. So, as an example, President Xi, he hit us with the rare earths, and I hit him with a tariff, 100% tariff on top of all the other tariffs that you're paying. And they called in 10 minutes and we made a deal.
You're saying you're happy with what you came out of it.
If I didn't have tariffs, we would right now, the entire world would be in a depression. Because, you know, that wasn't a threat against us. That was a threat against the entire world. I did this for the world. But, yeah, I would say that I can guarantee.
Maybe. I agree that people want fast change, but people also just hate the government doing stuff. So I
guarantee you this: if I didn't put 100% tariff immediately on China, the entire world, because of magnets, a special kind of rare earth, etc., right?
The shape of a magnet.
We'd be closed up. Without the benefit of tariffs, we would not. We had a very successful meeting with President Xi of China and others. And without tariffs, that would not have taken place.
Well, we appreciate the time. There's a lot going on all at once. I'd ask you about foreign policy, but I know you have to hit the road. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
All right. That was about as nothing as... Okay, yeah, that's... Did he actually say that? Did he? No way he said that. No, it's all the Ben Shapiro results I'm getting are wait, there's Ben Shapiro segment on Fox News.
Ben Shapiro is here, host of the Ben Shapiro Show. Ben, great to have you on set. Good to see you.
Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate
Great to see you. You know, what's your overall takeaway as you look at this, and particularly with a view to what we have seen as anti-Semitism and the anti-Semitic problem in New York City?
I mean, I think that many of the things that people are seeing
is
sort of a bug of the Mamdani campaign. How could he be elected while saying all these anti-Semitic things? That's a feature. The progressive left, the wild progressive left that was tapped in the primaries and then spurred him to victory in the general. That progressive left is very, very fond of anti-Semitism. They're totally fine with not only anti-Israel feeling, but obviously with a candidate for mayor who said to you on the show that he obviously doesn't really care whether Hamas disarms. Like that was something that he didn't mind talking about, which is kind of an incredible thing.
You know, when you break this vote down, not just in New York City, in Virginia and New Jersey as well, we see this young vote, massive young vote, supporting Democrats. And when we came out of 2024, the message was really that there was this resurgence of sort of young conservatives out there. So what's going on?
So I think what the polling is showing is that young people in particular are just unsettled. And what that means is that if they don't get what they want from one party, then they're going to swivel and they will turn and they will vote for the other party. So
okay, that's actually true. This is why Ben Shapiro's, because he's smart enough to know better.
And it was very unpopular. The inflation had really eaten away at people's livelihoods. And so people turned in favor of President Trump. I think that there are some warning signs here for young voters for 2026, even 2028, depending on the performance of the Trump administration. But one of the things that you're seeing with Mamdani, one of the things that you're seeing with I think, a lot of politicians these days, is if you just say the problem but don't offer a solution, that might be enough. If you just say affordability, 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 and then your solutions are absolutely ridiculous, like tried and true failures, people don't care about the solutions.
You have to be able to turn that lens back on yourself. I don't know Ben Shapiro's take on Trump and his economic policy this term. If you can't turn that lens back on yourself, that's crazy.
They just care that you empathize with the problem. The problem is that if you never solve it, then you are going to continue to see this kind of pendulum swing for young people from right to left and then back to right and then back to left.
It's like a generation of people, this is a big generalization, but who want to hear that they're seen.
Yes. And also who have been
as
told.
As long as you feel seen, it's okay.
I think that's right. And I think they've been also told by their politicians, only I can solve the problem. So I see your problem, and it's not solved by you. It's only